So the next step, I got my little clean area, got my new piston. I've got this rod cleaned up, got the bearings put back in it. So what am I doing for rings? Again, this is going to be a very budget-minded build. So I'm going to do top ring right there. Middle ring right there. So I am reusing the rings because this is a 20 over piston. This is also a 20 over piston. So these rings have already been in this block. This block has just been deglazed. And I actually had the engine shop deglaze it when I had them deck it. Where's the end of this ring? So these rings probably have at most a couple thousand miles. I kind of doubt they've got that, truthfully. But this car got to a point where it just wasn't driven a whole lot. So the main thing, clean them real good. Keep everything in the same orientation it was when it came off. And I do look over I've already looked over the rings before I started doing this. They show almost no signs of wear. Again, this is real budget. I'm going to call it a throwback together just to get the car running mostly. Yeah, I want it to make decent horsepower, but if it's down a little bit, not the end of the world in my eyes. These are harder to clean. Let's see. So in case you're wondering too, I am putting the rings back in the holes they came out of. And how I'm doing that is I came through and I scribed all the pistons, just scribed the carbon as I pulled them out. So this is number 5, just going back in hole number 5. So trying to limit any issues. Spin on with crap. These don't work very good for oil, the oil rings, but I'm gonna do this in focus of the camera. There we go. And then I tend to index all my rings about 180. So there's that one. Middle ring. Top ring. This is the one aggravation with reusing something like rings is they'll usually have a mark on them that indicates the top of the ring. And being that these have been run, that mark is hard to find. That's how it was on the bench. That's how it came off. That's how it's going back on. And then we put the circlip in. Which tend to be a pain in the butt. I really dislike putting these things in. I'm gonna have to go grab a pair of pliers. Okay, it's taken me a little while to figure out how to put in a circlip. Been a long time since I've been back on this build, so I'll show you how I do them on this last one here. I do like to run a little bit of assembly lube on everything. I've already put it in the piston and put the pin in, and I'll just put the pin in and spin them and let it push that lube all the way through that surface. And then let it clip. These are a nice, good fit. Nice and tight. Let me see if I can see here. So I can show it in the zoom, in the viewfinder. So basically the way you put these clips in, you put the two ends of it in first and then just roll it down. And it works pretty good with the pin in place. if need be, take something and you can tap it the last little bit. Get it locked in. Getting locked in. The rod's at a little side-to-side play, just like it should. There's number 5 assembled, ready to go in the block. So I will go ahead and finish up the rest. And bring you back probably. Okay, we're gonna put number 1 in the hole. Check, make sure my rings, at least my top and my middle, are opposite. Even I do my oil rings as well that way. But clocked at 108 degrees. Find the mark for the front of the piston. The front of the piston is going this direction. And I find a lot of times it's just as easy. I should set the piston on the deck, offset like that, to where it's sitting on the corner there. Put the ring compressor over it. So before I put this piston in this hole, I wipe this cylinder down. I'll take a paper towel or a shop rag. I'll wipe, I'll fold, I'll wipe, I'll fold, I'll wipe, I'll fold. And then I'll go get another rag and keep doing it until the rag comes out clean. And then I'll run my finger through it and make sure I can't feel anything. A lot of people will do that. Make sure you do the same thing with your ring compressor. It doesn't make any sense to spend all that time cleaning the cylinder wall and put a piston in a dirty ring compressor. This is just a little cheapy ring compressor that you can buy at any auto parts store. Nothing special about it. Since it is a sleeve, make sure it's seated down pretty good. It can go just a little more. There we go. I'll just use a brass. Need to get the piston a little bit lower in it. Let's see. I'm gonna get you guys right over the top so we can see the piston. So the piston's down low in the ring compressor. And then I'll tap the top of the ring compressor and make sure it's down on the deck real good, because these little bands sometimes will slip. I will hold that compressor down and I will easily tap this thing in. Occasionally at the bottom, this little thing will rock up. And sometimes the piston will even drag it into the cylinder. And there's a and there we are. Underneath, I'll center my rod with my center the end of the rod with my finger on the crank. It's already got assembly lube on it. And that's that. Now let's see if I can spin this over and not knock the tripod over. Oh, You guys couldn't see that, but the corner of the block was real close to hitting the tripod. Like I said, engine lube, assembly lube, whatever you want to call it. Always important. Put the caps on. Down the wrench. And for initial tightening, I like to use these little breaker bars just because I can hold it out long ways and spin it. Work it down with my wrist. Again, they're just hand tight right now. I'll come back and torque them once I've got the other two in. So I'll get the other two in, show torquing. Okay guys, so I forgot to turn the camera on. Thought I did, but the button didn't take. So I basically just went through. I use a beam style torque wrench. Clicked them off to 42 pounds. Spin this around. I'm just re-verifying this one. It's good. Key thing to make sure, these have already been torqued. Make sure they still move back and forth on the rod journal after you torque them. And then you know you're pretty good. I had already plastic gauged the others, which these rods have been mated with this crank before. So I knew there wasn't really much to worry about on it. Same with the mains. This crank and this main setup has already been run before. So I knew my clearances were good. I could tell by the wear on the bearings when I had first taken it apart. So that's the short block done. I should have enough clips to put all this together and show everything. And then we'll get back to it here a little later and start working on the heads and deciding which head setup I'm going to run. Cover it up just in case I don't get right back to it. Keep the dirt out of it. So, check back later.